There we go. Okay. So this is the MX board, which is the exact same board that you guys have. We're going to go over the IQ, which is the built-in computer, but we're going to talk about the board very briefly as well. So depending on how your school has it set up, some schools have cables that the IT department has permanently attached to the back, and you just plug these into your computer. Other schools, you might be using the front ports right here, and what those would do is connect you to your computer. You're always going to be connecting from the smart board to the computer with two cables. You're going to connect with the USB and the HDMI. So the HDMI cable is, as I mess up my cables for a second, is exactly what you would see on your television. So this is what you would, if you were using this on your TV, it's what goes from the cable box to the television. This would go from the smart board to your computer. And what it does is it communicates the sound and the video. So this is audio, video comes out of the HDMI cable. The USB cable is going to be this type of USB. So it's similar to the one that your printer uses, where it has the square end that is going to go into your board, and the normal looking USB, which is going to go into your computer. So the USB, I would refer to this as your mouse. This is your touch. If you go to touch the board and nothing is touching, that means that you're not plugged into the computer. And that's only if you're using the computer, because the computer itself, there is this lovely one right here. This is called IQ, and this is built into the board. Basically, when you're using IQ, your board is a giant tablet. It is an Android device tablet. So when I'm talking about the touch on the computer, that's the USB. The touch on the board itself, that's the board. So if you are plugged into your computer and you're not being able to like control your programs, open up, for example, maximize the size of Zoom or minimize Zoom or open up Smart Notebook, that would be the USB cable. The other thing to point out, and it's going to look the same in the back as well, right here on the front, there is a little line that kind of highlights that this USB and this HDMI go together. If you plug the USB in here, or sorry, if you plug the HDMI in here, but you plug the USB in here, that's not going to work. So you have to just look at, it is drawn for you, and it just gives you a little icon showing you which two cables are the correct ports to match each other up. The HDMI on the front is going to be referred to as HDMI 3. On the back, you have HDMI 1, and you also have HDMI 2. So you can have 3 devices plugged in at the same time, and you can toggle through them. So how do you toggle? Right here at the bottom of the screen above the pens, you're going to see a button that says Input. And when you click Input, it gives you a preview of all your screens. So if I were to plug the HDMI back into my computer right now, and then just give it a second to connect, you will see that HDMI 2 now has a loading preview because I just plugged a computer into HDMI 2. So right here are the buttons, and they should be the same on the other model of the MX. If not, I think if anything, you're just missing the curtain. I'm pretty sure that's the only new button. So the first button is your home, and this is what takes you right back to the main screen, the home screen, the IQ, the built-in computer. Then this one with the arrow, I don't know if you could really see, I don't know if I zoomed in far enough. This is as far as the camera zooms. But this one with the arrow is your input. And the same way that I hit input on the screen before, this is where you would hit input on the buttons. Then you possibly have the curtain. That blacks out your entire screen to cover whatever's on it for the students. The pause button. If you remember back when you had those old-fashioned I don't want to say old-fashioned, some schools still use them. If you had the projector and the wall, you had a button on your remote to freeze the projector, so whatever you were showing stayed on the board, and you can go do something different on your computer. So that is, if you hold the pause button in, that's what that's going to do for you. Then you have the mute, or the volume down, and the volume up, and then the last button is the power. Now, something really important to know about power is you never actually want to shut your board off all the way. I know that sounds kind of crazy. You're like, what do you mean I don't want to shut it off? I want to be able to turn it off at night, save energy, all of that type of stuff. And I apologize that I'm playing with the Zoom to get the camera back. There we go. So Smart sends over-the-air updates, not every night, but occasionally, around 2 a.m. in the morning. The reason they do it at 2 a.m. is because they know that teachers would kind of go crazy if they're in the middle of a lesson and all of a sudden the board resets to update the software. So they do it in the middle of the night when they know no one is in the classrooms using the boards. If you turn the board off all the way, if you shut the power off, if you disconnect from the internet, you're not going to get those updates. There are times where you're going to come into school in the morning, you're going to go turn on your board and you're going to be like, I don't remember that from yesterday. It happens. It has happened to me. I've gone in to do a training at a school and I click on it and I'm like, that's new. It happens. None of these changes are going to be complicated to the point where it's like, wait, I don't know what to do now. The board changed. It's not like Facebook where everything's changed and everything's relocated. I'm going to show you a quick example. If I click on my whiteboard, and I'm going to show you the whiteboard in a moment. One day, this little tool right underneath everything popped up. Brand new tool, wasn't there the day before, was there the next day. All of these new features showed up overnight. It did not change my pens. It did not change my pictures. It just added something underneath. So don't panic about those updates messing your whole mindset up, but just know they do come randomly. All right, so we're going to talk about IQ really quickly, which is the built-in computer to the board. Is this a decent angle? Can you guys see it well? Or do you want me to zoom in a little more? It's totally up to you.
It depends on how much you can fit it into your window there. I know it's hard to do.
Okay. I can fit it in a little bit more. It's just I won't be in the picture with it if I...
That's good, right there. Yeah, I think that's
good enough-ish. Perfect. And when we switch over to talking about the software, I am going to be doing a screen share of the software, so it'll be much clearer than trying to look from the camera to the board, I promise. So the IQ is the built-in computer, and there's a couple of things on it that I want you to be aware of, but 90% of the stuff I'm showing you, your IT department is going to take care of. So when you, down here on the bottom left is the settings button. This is mostly going to be your IT department, but there are a couple of things in here that I want you to know. The wallpaper is in the settings. So if you want to change your background, that's where you would do that, is in settings. Notice it says you can add a picture from a USB drive. Right here on the front, there's a little picture of a computer. If you plug a USB with a JPEG in there, you can actually put that JPEG as your background. I have seen some teachers make the background their student of the month. So they'll put a picture of their favorite, not their favorite student, of their student of the month as their background for the whole month, and the next month a different student becomes the background. So that is how you can change the background. That is how you can import your own pictures to the background. The other things in the settings that you as the classroom teacher might want to know is the network. If you ever can't access your internet before you call IT panicking, check this toggle switch right here. You need to make sure it says on. Now, whatever network your IT department has already connected the board to and all of that, it will automatically connect to that board again, to that internet again. So just know that toggle switch is that my internet's not working, what's going on? That's where you would test it. So that's network, Wi-Fi, it's just an on and off toggle. The last toggle is software update. So let's say that you did turn your board off overnight, or let's say there was a power outage and you come back into school on Monday and you're like, gee, I wonder if there were any updates. Software update, check for updates. That's where you can make sure you got whatever the newest stuff is. So that's pretty much the only thing in settings that you as the classroom teacher need to be aware of. I mean, there is date and time, audio, just let you know if your speakers are turned on or not. But again, most of that's going to be your IT department. I just want you to be aware that's what's underneath settings. So right now I'm not logged into the board, but I'm going to show you what happens when you log in. So right now, if I click over here, there's an icon that says files. You're going to see every file that was created on this board, physically on the board, not logged in. Here's every whiteboard. If I come up here and click the little silhouette of a person, it's going to say, let you sign in. You click sign in. and you can choose between Google and Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't have as many features, and I believe your school is a Google school anyway, correct?
Yes, that is correct. They would use Google.
Okay. So you would click that sign in with Google, and you would just sign in with your school account. Excuse me as I cover the board for a second. I just want to point out before I hit next, it does pop up with a little digital keyboard. You can move the keyboard, but sometimes it's a little, as I keep typing the number 1 as I try to hit the arrow. There you go. So you can move the keyboard around. That's going to pop up anytime you need to type something on the screen when you're in IQ. It is a little like fidgety sometimes, but it is really nice to have it. So I logged in, and now as we keep talking, it's going to connect me to my Google Drive. It's going to connect me to anything I have saved, and you're going to also see that any of the notebooks, and we're going to be talking about the software in a moment, but anything you create in your cloud, you're going to be able to open on the board. You can see it already populated a bunch of files here, but now when I go to files, I have a pull down menu, and you can see public files. That was what's on the board when you're logged out, and my files. And this is my entire Google Drive. So I can go to SLS files that I have saved in my Google Drive, and they will load. You'll notice it's kind of like populating it right now. So it'll load in a minute, and I will have all of my files right on the board without having to connect a computer at all. So that is the really nice feature. So if you are going to be using the front of the room, you don't have to connect the computer. You don't have to worry about toggling over cables, because you can just open up your file and be ready to go. And this is actually the file I'm going to show you when we switch to the software. So I'm going to take it off now. Let it load for a second just so you can see. It does take, I'd say, about 30 seconds to a minute to load. It feels a lot longer when you're waiting for it. It really isn't that long. But so here is my entire file, and I can go through this with the class from the board without ever connecting a computer. To go back to the main screen, I hit the little button that says home, and we are back on my main screen. So that's it for files, and we are going to talk about the file types, but I do want to show you the built-in stuff to IQ, because again, you're not going to always want to connect your computer, and there is so much you can do directly from the board. So the whiteboard right here is the main feature. You can pick up your pen, and you'll notice on the bottom I have 5 choices for paper. I have white, I have graph, line, dot matrix, and traditional chalkboard. When you see the white versus the chalkboard, that actually has to do a lot with the lighting in your classroom. If your room is really bright, this blackboard is going to make it easier for the kids to see. If your room is on the darker side, the whiteboard is going to be easier for the kids to see. So that's something that you can play around with to decide what color works best in your classroom's lighting, and how many windows, and is the sun rising in the morning or is the sun setting in your afternoon. So that could play into effect. And that's also when you're making presentations on the computer. Light versus dark colors really has to do with the lighting of the room. These screens are really bright, but if the room is really bright, it'll wash it out a bit. So over here on the side, I have a pen tool, I have a selector tool, I have a picture tool, and I have those widget tools that I showed you a second ago. So we're going to start with the pen, and you're going to see you have 7 colors plus a white circle with the dot, dot, dot. If you click on the white circle with the dot, 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 you're going to get the entire color wheel. So you are not actually limited to 6 colors. It's just all they could fit in the little screen. You have the whole color wheel. You can pick whatever color you want, and you can write on your board. If you pick up the second pen, or you have 2 kids come up to the board, they can both be writing at the same time. They are both going to be the same color. So both pens are always writing in the same color. When we switch over to the computer, you could actually have 2 colors, because the pen is one color and your hand is a second color. On the board built in, your hand is always going to be your mouse. So that's a big differentiation between the board and the computer, is your hand is always the mouse on the board, but on the computer, you can set your hand to be a separate pen. So just like with your phone, remember I said that the board is a giant tablet? 2 fingers. Never likes to work when I'm demoing it. There we go. 2 fingers, I can stretch. If I come over here, I can rotate. So all of that, again, your hand is your mouse. If I shrink the whole board, or if I stretch the whole board, you'll notice down here at the bottom, I have a tic-tac-toe looking board, and that's telling me what I'm actually looking at. So you really have 9 boards in one, because you can scroll down, move that up, keep writing below it, scroll below it, right above it. If you still need another blank page, there's a plus sign on the side, and this is going to open up a bunch of different stuff. So the blank page is on top, but you're also going to see ready-made activities, graphic organizers, and manipulatives. So for the graphic organizers, you have columns, you have brainstorming webs. If you scroll down, you have your Venn diagram. So you have a nice Venn diagram that you can then just pick up your pen, write on the board. The manipulatives are also really fun. So if you click on manipulatives, these are more going to be for your elementary students. Some of them are going to be for the older kids, but you have like, here's coins. So it opens up the screen and you could say to the kid, all right, I want you to, you're going to the ice cream man, I want you to get me $1.25. And the kid could drag some quarters in, he can drag some dimes in, and he can make his change. Or also in the manipulatives, and you can play around with these because there's a lot of them. Here's music. So if you're the music teacher, now you have your staff paper. You can drag up your treble clef. You can drag up some whole notes, some half notes, anything you need. So those are all the built-in manipulatives, and you can still write on top of this. So let's say I wanted to, please forget the fact that I was a music major at one point because I know that's totally wrong. But you can write on top of it after you drag stuff in there. The last thing that's built into the whiteboard is called Shout It Out. We're going to look at the Shout It Out on the computer side, but you can do it on the board as well. And a shout out is for when your students have their devices. They're actually able, if I click start, students are able to send things directly to the board, and it kind of looks like Post-it notes. So they'll type it on their device, they hit submit, and then a Post-it note will pop up on the screen. So again, we're going to actually have you guys play with that when we get to the software, so you will see what it looks like. All right. So the next thing that they have on the boards that I want you to be aware of is the browser. So when you have your browser, you can open up anything you want, files, videos, anything. So if I had this Google Doc here, I can now come in. The virtual keyboard pops up. I could type in that Google Doc. If I wanted to type an entire document using that touch keyboard, I could, because all I did was I logged into my Google Drive from the browser. Another thing with the browser that's really cool, I'm going to just open up a blank Wikipedia page for a second, and I'm not even going to look at what I'm clicking. I'm just going to go English. Here's an random article. I pick up my pen. So I'm talking with my students and I want to point something out to them on this website. As soon as your pen hits the board, you hear that little click sound. Notice on the video or on the picture, it has like a, I don't know if you can see it in the, you can kind of see it on the camera. Do you see how it has those stripes through it now? It took a screenshot of whatever was on my board. I can now write on the website. I can highlight the website. I can change the thickness of my pen. It doesn't really, it won't make a highlighter. So you'll see even if I change it to yellow, it's going to cross out. So you would want to circle, not highlight, or you might want to underline. But you can write directly on that article from the website. When you're done, you hit the X in the corner and it gives you a choice to throw it out or save it. If I click save, it is actually going to save that when I go back to my home screen, I have two icons right now. This one here is the Chrome icon, so that's the web browser. But this one right here is my whiteboard. It saved that picture as a whiteboard, and I can continue writing on it. So that is a really cool feature. You can write directly on sites. On top of writing directly on a website, you could also write directly on top of a video. So if I was to open up YouTube, and I don't even know what video I'm clicking, I'm just picking whatever, like the first video I can. So this one is on the hover cam. It's a document camera. It just happens to be there. So I have this video, and whatever I'm talking to my students about, I can be like, all right, guys, look right here. As soon as my pen hit the board, it paused the video, and I could write on it. Now, it is the yellow because that was the last color pen I had, but I can change my pen, and I could write on that video. As soon as I X out of that drawing, it's going to continue the video from where it was.
The first thing you'll notice is the bottom toolbar.
So that is a really nice feature of the browser, is that you can write directly on the websites, directly on YouTube, and just talk with your kids and do stuff as you're using it. Last thing is over here, there's an option that says apps. The apps are really more like bookmarks. You're not really going to use these apps too much. If you were to, for example, click add, it says search. They're bookmarks for websites. They're not, it's not like a normal app on your phone. So if I was to type in Khan Academy, you'll see it pulls up an icon that says Khan Academy. I click the plus sign, and now when I go back to my apps, Khan Academy is listed, but if I click on it, you're going to notice it just opened up my web browser in a new tab. So it really, those apps are more bookmarks, not apps. And that is pretty much everything about the board.
All right, I think we can start, Corey. Church bells are ringing.
All right. I love how the church bells, it's so much more beautiful than just a regular old-fashioned classroom bell. So good morning, everyone. My name is Corey Freed. I am from Visual Sound, and I am going to be kind of walking you through your smart panels today, and then talking about the software and the different ways you can use it with your students. So since we want to help you get started with the boards themselves to start, and I see a lot of you have those boards behind you, which is great because we might have to show you screens since I am not going into the office today, so I don't have a physical board behind me. But what I want to point out to you first, when you look at your boards, you're going to notice a couple of things. You see your most recents, so you'll see the file that you used most recently. You will also see some bookmarks. So the bookmarks tend to be your whiteboard, your browser, and you can add additional bookmarks. Most people don't. So those are the bookmarks that are on the side. On the bottom of your screen, to the left, you're going to see the option for settings. In the middle, you're going to see your files, your apps, your screen share, and your input. And then on the right, you're going to see, depending on if you're signed in right now, you're either going to see sign out or clean up. And that's those little circles on the bottom of your screen. So the one I want to talk about first is going to be the inputs, because I know a lot of you are asking about plugging in your Chromebooks, plugging in your PCs, and that input is how you're going to do that. So if those of you who are in front of your boards right now want to hit that input, you're going to see something pop up on the screen. And what you're going to see is little previews. Now, if you have any computer plugged into your board, you will actually see a little screenshot of the desktop of that computer. So that's how you know which one you have plugged in. So you'll notice you have 3 HDMIs and 1 VGA. 99% of you are going to be using HDMI. If you have one of the really old computers, you might still be using VGA. So VGA is that one that's kind of a little bigger. It has a lot of little needle thingies looking in it. And HDMI looks like what you plug here, or into your television, I should say. The other thing you're going to notice is no matter what, whether you're using HDMI or VGA, you're also going to have a USB cable. So what you need to recognize right away is the difference between the cables. The display, so what you're currently looking at your preview, that is just your display and your audio. So if you are using VGA, what's going to happen is that's going to take your video and your audio from the computer to the board. If you're using HDMI, that's going to take your video and your audio from the computer to the display. Now, that's not going to take your touch. The USB is basically a wireless mouse, so to speak, but it's not wireless, obviously, you have a cable. When you plug the USB from the computer to the board, that's your mouse. So that's how you get that touch functionality. Now, these smart boards, these MX models that you have about 20 points of touch. So when you are on that board and you touch the whiteboard, you get 20 points of touch. Now, something that you're going to also notice right away is that when you are touching the board, there's a difference between your fingers and the pen. And this is going to get you a little more confusing. When you are on your built-in computer, which is what you're looking at, most of you are looking at right now, versus your attached computer, the pens and the fingers are going to work a little bit differently. So if you're on a PC or a Mac and you actually open up a notebook file, then it's going to be a lot different than if you're using the browser. So we're going to be talking about completely using the browser today, because we're going to talk about the things that'll work on all the devices, whether you are on a Chromebook, a PC, or a Mac. We're also going to obviously talk about that built-in computer. So when you look at that built-in computer right now, if you're still on that home screen, and if you're not on that home screen, on the bottom, hang on, I got to just visualize. It's on the bottom left, you have those 4 buttons. You're going to see one that has a picture of a home. And I want you to click on that picture of a home so that you are looking at the built-in computer. So if you were plugged into your computer, I want you to go directly to that built-in one. And on the top left, you're going to see a little silhouette of a person. And that silhouette is how you log into your Google account. So that's what I want you right now, is I want you and whoever just clicked, I think that was Gina, if I'm looking at the names correctly. Yep, Gina. You're actually not going to go on your computer right now. So I want you on the bottom to hit the button that looks like a home. There you go. All right, so we're going to start with that built-in computer. See, this is why it's great that you guys are sharing your screens. And you see that sign-in option. It looks like some of you are already signed in. But you're going to click Sign In with Google, type your username and password. And the reason we're going to do that is because that actually syncs the files from your Google Drive or your Chromebook directly to the board. So this is how you don't need any other devices, because what's going to happen is you are able to just go right on the board and access your files. So once you've clicked that login and you've put your username and password, it should take you back to the home screen. And I want you to click on the bottom, the circle that says Files. Oops, someone else just came in. So when you click on that Files option, and I see some of you, it's loading faster than others. It'll be a little delay on the video. Like Kristen, I already see you went into Files. And what's going to happen is if you have any smart files in your Google Drive, they are going to show up there on the board for you. All right, I see Beth is logged in. Now, this is only going to allow you to open your Smart Learning Suite files. So it's not going to open every Google Drive file that you have. It's only going to open the files that are smart. So that's the first thing I want you to realize. And I see Kate has a lot showing up on her screen. I can't read who. Adventure. If I pronounced that wrong, I'm very sorry. I see you have a couple logging in, showing up. Kate has a bunch showing up. So that's syncing. That is how the files are going to go from your computer to your board. Now, how many of you have only really use the boards to interact with your students physically in the classroom with you at the same time. All right, I see a couple people are still logging in, so I'll give you a moment. Julie, I see you raise your hand. You can come off mute. We're all friends here.
Oh, I just meant that we just use it, just the board physically in person.
Okay.
Our students don't have.
Awesome. And anyone can come off mute. Your students don't have the Chromebooks. Okay.
Right.
Okay, I thought I was signed in, but it's telling me I'm
So-
not.
Okay.
I was
that's
signed in
Gina?
last week. Yes.
Okay, hang on. I got to make your screen bigger so I could physically see you.
I'm hitting it.
All right.
It keeps popping up to this. I was
All
signed
right.
in.
It's saying
What does
unknown
that
error.
white bar say on
Unknown error.
Oh,
That wasn't there.
okay.
It wasn't
So
there.
what I'm gonna, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. All right. So what I want you to do, and I just made your screen larger on mine so I could see you a little better. I want you to hit the home button on the bottom of the board. And then on the left, I want you to hit the settings gear. So that little circle all the way to the left. All right. On the top, click network. And let's make sure that your internet didn't disconnect.
It's connected.
So all right. That's the first troubleshooting. If normally when you get an error, it's because the internet turned itself off. All right.
It's connected.
So go down on the bottom where it says software update. Bottom left. All right. And I would like you to click the check for updates now. Now these updates for all of you, they should automatically go at like 2 in the morning, but sometimes if there was like a power outage or something, it might not do it automatically. So as it's having today's date and says up to date.
Yep.
Okay. So those are those are the 2 top troubleshooting. So let's go back to your home screen. And on the bottom right, does it say cleanup or sign out?
Clean up.
All right, so click cleanup.
Am I going to lose what I have?
Yes, you are.
Great. I just had my homework.
No, you're not. Don't worry. You're not losing what you have. Yes, click yes. So that's a great question. I heard you panic a little that you didn't want to lose your stuff. All right, so you see how right now there's nothing there?
Yep.
So just so you don't panic, on the bottom, click the word files.
Oh, it's there. I saw it. Yeah. There it is.
Everything is still there.
Okay.
So cleanup just cleans up the home screen. All your files are saved automatically. So
Does
never
it-
panic.
Does it get rid of though of all of your internet sites that you have pulled up and like are logged into though every time? Or is there a way to like
Yes, that is what cleanup does.
okay.
It cleanup just it logs you out. But the point of that is so like when you switch classrooms, you
Mhm.
didn't like leave your Gmail account logged in on the board and then the next like a kid sneaks in during lunch and
All right.
accesses your stuff. All right, so since you are cleaned up, go to the top left and click on the little person and let's see if we can get you logged in this time. Is it still giving you an error message?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. You broke your board. No, I'm kidding. You didn't break your board. We'll figure this out. All right. So this is going to be a little confusing to try to talk you through this part, but I want you to actually power on and off your entire board. There is not the power button on the front. There's a toggle switch on the back. So if you reach behind the right,
You're right.
you should feel a toggle switch. It should be near the power cord.
Find it.
Do you see the power cord?
Yeah, I see the power.
On the left, she's
Oh, it's
On
on
the
the
right.
left?
It's on the
I thought it
left.
was on- I thought it was on the right. If it's on
It's
the
on
left,
the
I
right.
apologize. I might have sent you.
definitely.
I thought it was on the left. I thought that's where Chris did it.
Chris did it. I thought it was on the right.
Yeah, Chris did. I thought he went on the left. Okay.
It should be near the cord.
He went under that way. See
Here,
if that
see if you
helps.
see a
Yeah,
switch.
I got it.
He went back.
Okay, perfect. So leave it for about 10 seconds and then flip it again.
Oh, well,
It
That was
came back on.
No, back on. That was me. I'll give it 10 seconds.
Yeah, give it about 10 seconds. The power cycle, I can't explain why because I'm not really an IT person, but somehow that works 90% of the time. It basically like clears out all of the ghosts in the machine. This is good for your computers too. If you never turn your computer off, turn it off once in a while. It's amazing how much faster things will go. All right, so that's been long enough. You can turn it back on. And then when it turns on, try to log in again and see if it lets you this time. All right, so while they're doing that, we're gonna get their board working. We're gonna figure this out for Gina. All right. So while they're doing that, what I am gonna do right now is I want to show you a Smart Learning Suite file that is in Smart Learning Suite Online. So what I'm gonna do take you straight through this from the beginning. So we're going to go to
We had the error again.
smarttech.com. It still has the error. All right.
Yes.
I am going to figure this out for you because that should not be happening. I'm writing it down so I can check. I can't think of any other troubleshooting off the top of my head though. But I will definitely find you an answer to that. So I'm logging in right now to Smart Suite, and you're not going to log in on yours. You're just going to watch me for a moment. So what's happening is Smart Suite, and it looks like my screen just froze. Did it freeze for everyone?
It's frozen, yep.
Can you hear me or did it freeze?
I can hear you, but I can't see your screen.
Can you hear me from the other microphone or did it freeze?
Oh, I see Beth is giving me a thumbs up. Okay.
Okay.
We can hear.
All right, so let's try this again. All right. Unfortunately, I think it's freezing on us, but we're gonna keep trying. All right. 1 second. I'm gonna have to change something because it looks like having two computers running is not being very productive. Okay, I just switched with ending because I think I just switched to the other computer and shut the second one off, so maybe that'll stop the lag a little bit. All right, so what we're going to look at right now is Smart Learning Suite. And with Smart Learning Suite, there's two different ways to access it. So we're going to look right here at Smart Suite, which is their generic page, and then we're going to go look at Google Drive. The two work together, so it makes it a little interesting. And because I'm now working on the one computer screen, all your pictures are kind of hiding underneath the screen I'm sharing. So
please come off of mute if you have questions. I apologize that my dog just started going off on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit start this file, and this is exactly how it will look when you are on when you are on the surfboard or when you are on a computer browser. So you'll see over here on the right, you have your toolbar, and this has your pens, it has your eraser. One of your teachers did ask about resetting the shout it out. When this little icon here is not grayed out, that's how you would reset a shout out. You would just click on that refresh arrow and it would clear everything and put it back to the way it was at the beginning.
Corey, Beth has a question.
I just wanted to know if we purchased the Smart Learning Suite online already?
I believe so. Every board should come with a 1-year subscription anyway. Regina, did you allocate them to the individual teachers yet in your buildings?
Mike Wyatt, that's your question answer.
Hey, hang on. You're gonna get some massive feedback in a second.
Because I'm trying to see on it saying that start your 45-day trial.
It was one of the things that we talked about a little bit, and because of the way we use the smart boards and the way that we are integrated with Google, we decided not to use the Smart Learning Suite.
Oh. Okay, so you didn't get licenses for it.
Correct.
But if it comes with
I think it does. It's on there. I think that was the one thing, Mike, that she wanted you to do. Remember when I said she wanted to talk to the tech guy?
Oh,
Visual sound, Karen.
All right, so Mike, here's the thing. If you want to use the boards without a computer, that Smart Learning Suite is how the files sync between the computer and the board. And we could talk about this after. If you guys want, I could show you non-Smart Learning Suite stuff, but that would all be browser-based. It wouldn't be like native. There is plenty of stuff you can do without Smart Learning Suite. It's not native to the boards.
is there a means to, I know there's apps and stuff on the board. Is there a way to make those things native to the board, or is it all done through the browser?
So like Google Jamboard is a whiteboard, but that would be through Google Drive, which would be through the browser.
Okay.
So that's what I mean. When I say it would all be through the browser, that's what I mean. It's anything that's Google Drive. You'd open up, and you can put bookmarks. So I could show you how to bookmark it. So instead of having to go drive.google.com, I could show you how to bookmark like slides, bookmark, Jamboard, but it would not be native to the board itself.
I think for the most part, the teachers have their favorited any sites that they use on the regular, right? Guys, we did that a couple weeks ago. We made sure all of your sites that you use on daily are favorited so you can quick access.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you want, like in the meantime, if you want to try that 45-day free trial, or if you guys want me to just talk Google and stuff. So let's see what Michael and Regina want me to do at this point.
I think the teachers should learn the Smart Suite. Because I think they know the Google, they downloaded it, right?
Well, and that's the thing, and we talked about this a little, was a lot of the things that Smart Suite does, and this was my understanding from the pitch meeting, a lot of the stuff that the Smart Suite does is stuff that we can do using Google like we normally do, except that it would not be native to the board. So the Smart Suite had like a little more interactivity, but it was something that we weren't sure if we wanted to throw on another layer of technology learning in the chaos that was. Again, I could be wrong, but that was my take the last time.
I think we did say that, Mike, that, yeah, we were kind of like taking baby steps with this.
Right.
Okay. Then in that case, I will just talk Google stuff. That is totally fine. I have no problem with that. All right. So I will turn off the Smart Learning Suite then, because obviously I'm not going to talk Smart Learning Suite right now. The things that you see on your board natively, so those of you that see the shout out, those of you that see the graphic organizers, those things you can do on the board, but you can't wirelessly share those to your students. So if your students are working at home, you can't like screencast that to their Google Meet. So that's the one thing with the board natively. You can't screen share the board to a device. You can share the device to the board, but not the board to the device. The whiteboard, on the other hand, yes, Amanda.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Am I off mute? Okay.
You're good.
Well, I'm sorry. I guess I misunderstood because I thought that we were in the whiteboard and then that's where like the graphic organizers were. And I thought that they could see that as long as they were signed into Hello Smart. Am I wrong?
If the teacher doesn't have a Hello Smart account, though, that's the issue.
So like whenever
if
I,
you have Hello
because I
Smart,
have
then
kids,
yeah.
we're some in virtual, some are virtual, some are in class, and our kids have one-to-one Chromebooks for the upper grades. So like whenever I'm on the whiteboard doing math, for example, like they go to hellosmart.com and I type in the code, and then they can see everything that I'm doing on the board. And I've also played Shout It Out with them, being in class and virtual. And again, I would just, I think it says share with your class or whatever, and I click that, and then at home and here, we're all playing the game. So they wouldn't see because I think I did a graphic organizer with them as well.
You see what you're explaining to me now? I think I'm just getting confused with Michael. That sounds like you have a license. That sounds like you have your Smart Learning Suite. Because if you're able to log into Hello Smart,
so like
that's
I'm
the
going
license.
here. I don't know if you can see my board if I'm like this, like when I'm not in the way, obviously. Oh, whoops. Okay, so I'm at my board, and then I'm going here, and then I have a specific code for my class. So I'll hit start sharing, and then my kids at home will type in my code that's loading right now. But like that's how we've been doing it, and that's how they've been like interacting with us
And
from
I
home.
think Beth just shared the same thing. So let me ask you one more question. Are you currently logged into your Google account?
Yes,
On the board?
my school Google, yes.
All right, Michael, I think we need to figure this out because if they have the Hello Smart code, then they have the license.
Michael is currently on the way to the junior school to fix some of their smartboard issues. So he'll be able to be on camera in just a moment, but he's going from the senior school to the junior school building.
No worries. But if you have that Hello Smart code, then you should have a license. That's where
so some of us have been like using it every day. Like I said, because third to eighth has a one-to-one Chromebook for all the kids.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I know.
Then yeah, in that case, yeah, that you are sharing the whiteboards with them. I just, like I said, I was just confused because when he said you didn't get the license, but now you're showing the code, so you do have the license.
I'm thinking, like you said, it came for a year free. But what he's saying is, I didn't think that I think didn't he have to do something to hook them up to Google?
Yeah, he had to allocate the specific license to the teacher's email address. I'll talk with Michael. We'll figure this part out.
Okay.
All right. So
if we continue to be virtual, this has really been a help. So this is something that we should definitely continue if our license does expire.
Right.
Yeah,
so we'll just have to order it after next year.
If we're still virtual. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Julie has it in the junior school, so that's good.
All right. And Dawn has it.
Good.
Does this mean I'm on?
No, Danielle, I'll be there. I have a question though. Can they access this code on an iPad?
Yep, it's anything with you can do it from a phone too. It's anything with a web browser. So they go to that hellosmart.com, they type in that code, and then whatever you as the teacher are sharing, they would see on their device in their web browser.
But that would only be the whiteboard or some of those graphic organizers. It would not be a website like anything.
No, it would, right. It would only be the stuff within those. So the graphic organizers are in the whiteboard.
Right. So that would just be the whiteboard part, not your actual, if I go on a website, if I go on a video, it doesn't show any of that.
Right. Now I'm going to go back to screen sharing that Smart Learning Suite because obviously you do have, if you have your license. So if you have right now like Google Slides or PowerPoints or anything like that, you could actually convert them into notebook files so that you could share them through hellosmart.com with the students. And I'm going to just show you right here. This is just a sample one. So if I was here in class, right now, I am just sharing with you. Here's my screen. I want to screen share it on the Google Meet. You're watching exactly what I'm doing. I can click my arrows, it would follow down. Now, if I come here to my people and I give you guys my class code, I'm going to put it in the chat. If any of you want to open up another tab on your browser and just play along as the students so you could see it, that would be my code. And just like what I'm doing on the screen, your kids could see on their own devices if they logged in as a student. Now this, yes.
Corey, can we just stop for 1 second? I'm sorry. Now I put in, because I never heard anything about the Hello Smart. Nobody so now I'm saying, welcome to Miss Mentor, join your class ID. Now, what class ID? I made one.
No. So did you went on, like, you clicked the browser on your smart board and then typed Hello Smart.
Yes.
So that's, you're currently pretending to be a student.
Okay.
Go back to your home screen.
Okay, so go to my home screen. Okay.
Yep. All right. So now click on any of your whiteboards.
Any of my
whiteboards? Pick a brand new one, click when you already wrote on anything.
Okay.
All right, top left. You might not want to sit back down right fast because you're going to hit some stuff. So on the top left, you see a little, like, it's two people standing next to each other.
Two people. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I never. This is new to me. This is news to me.
Oh, that's great. So what happens is where it's spinning right now, you should get a class code that your students can use.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. And then to get out of that, just hit those two people again.
Okay.
And that would put it back to the whiteboard for you to actually write.
Okay. Okay.
The other thing, on that top left, something that says like share whiteboard.
What does it say? You broke up.
It would say like share whiteboard. It might not because you don't have any students in there.
It just says start sharing.
VGA's
Yeah.
not working either.
Okay, so you would click that start sharing.
I bought this. Mike, I paid $50 for this.
So if you click that start sharing, then anyone who logged into Hello Smart, once you have a code, would see what you're sharing.
Okay. It's still loading.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still yeah.
I have a question. So if a student gets on and could see our screen from hellosmart.com, they can't see us or hear us from Google Classroom anymore. They would have to switch back and forth.
Yeah, they'd have multiple tabs, yes.
So all they could see is what I'm doing. They can't hear me or anything anymore.
Right. Well, no, they can still hear you. They just can't see you.
Okay.
Because your voice would still be coming through.
If they still have open.
If you have your computer connected, you can, like the same way that I'm sharing my screen with you right now, you could share your screen and keep them in the Google Meet.
Okay.
Now, the reason,
And they can put up dual screens if they have like dual lists or some of those Chrome extensions, they can have two screens at once.
right. Now, the benefit of the Hello Smart is going to come with the interactivity. So what I want you to do right now is I'm going to demonstrate this for you. So I am going to turn that first page into a collaborative activity because I see a few people are logged in. And what I would like you to do is, did it reload on yours, Beth? There you go. So Beth can move stuff. And I could see when I look at my screen, I could see what she's moving. So all my kids that are at home, they could all be using the board together. So like if anyone else besides Beth is logged in and wants to move something, so you can see like on Beth's screen, the other person would move the stuff as well. And this is just a sample. I didn't actually make the sample presentation, just so you guys know. And I think Beth is the only one playing.
Sorry, I was commuting. Did somebody need me?
Well, we were saying that they have the code when they go on their board directly, so I think you do have the licenses. We need to figure that out
Okay.
afterward.
That's very possible.
So, all right, so you'll see Beth moved her stuff, and if I go to my screen share, you could all see what Beth did. Now, Beth, if you wanted to pick up your pen and like circle something or write on something. I should have prefaced that. If you want to first on the left of your screen, you have to click the pen because in Hello Smart, when you're acting as the student, you're actually going to have to use the toolbar to the left. It's not the native pen on the board. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out to you. So actually, Beth, you made a great example. And then Beth fell off my screen.
She got kicked out.
Oh, okay. She didn't fall off my screen. She left my screen. That makes more sense. So when I was just saying, this is a little bit of a confusing thing. When you're on Hello Smart, so if you're right now, you're acting as the student in Hello Smart, you're going to actually use your finger as the pen, and you're going to use that toolbar to the left. The pens that are on the board are going to be used for the whiteboards. So this is only when you're acting as a student. So she was logged into my class as a student. That was the reason why her pen didn't want to help. But, oh, it did. She circled it. All right. All right. So that's one of those nice things where Hello Smart lets your students all interact from different devices. It's also good for social distancing because, you know, you could pass an iPad around the room and the kids could do it on the iPad and you can like, you know, wipe it down between kids, unlike the board where you're like, all right, come on up, come on up, come on up. So that Hello Smart is pretty good for that. Bridget has a question. Go ahead.
So I was dragging things while Beth was as well, and I was just trying to type something and it's not showing up on yours. Is there a reason? Is there some kind of teacher control or anything like that?
All right. So when you typed, are you still in the text box?
Yes.
I'm out of the text box.
Like I added a text box and I'm putting up, just typing random letters right now, and it's showing up on my screen.
All right. I'm guessing that you were hi.
Nope, that's Amanda.
So yeah, I just wrote hi and I used the A and it showed up.
Right.
And I was the one that's had circled in red parks and businesses close by.
Okay.
So I was able to drag things on the screen, but then I wasn't able to type and I wasn't sure how that works.
Okay, so you see here on the left, the toolbar?
Yeah, that's what I did.
And it didn't show up?
No.
Huh. It should have. The same way that Amanda's hi showed up, your stuff should have as well. And you'll notice, just to show you this too, when Amanda typed hi, if I click on what she wrote and I pull down that arrow, it shows me that Amanda wrote it. So that's something else that when you're doing this with your students, you can see what your students are doing. So if you were doing this collaborative thing, you could see each kid. Yes, Amanda.
I'm gonna look on mute when I'm ready. No, this is a little bit of a backtrack. I apologize, but like my board still hasn't loaded for like me to give my students the code. Is there anything that you can suggest for that? Because this happens to me very often. And there's been times where I would just have to like switch subjects because I couldn't do math at the time because the Hello Smart wouldn't load. Is there any suggestions you have for that?
That might be the licensing issue.
Yeah,
Like
mine never loaded either.
I think it might be sometimes internet issue as well. An internet
It could be the internet. So what I want to show you then for that purpose is we're going to take you out of Hello Smart. We're not going to look at Hello Smart right now. I want to take you into Google Jamboard. Okay? Because Google Jamboard, you can definitely share with your kids. So we're going to go to Google Drive. Go to the right Google Drive. Right. Is it sharing? It did not. It stopped sharing my screen when I switched tabs. All right, so it's gonna, for a second, it's gonna give you a bit of a double. All right, so we are in Google Drive. And if you were on your smartboard, you would just open up the browser and go to Google Drive. And then what you're gonna do is click New, More, and you'll see Jamboard as an option. How many of you have used Jamboard before?
We had a whole workshop on Jamboard last year.
Okay. So there have been some changes since last year, I'll tell you that, because this change only came out 2 weeks ago. You can now go to set background, and you could actually put your own image as the background. So that's the first thing that is brand new. That just came out like 2 weeks ago. The reason why I'm suggesting Jamboard over Hello Smart if you're having loading issues is because you can come here to share. You can get the link, and you can put that in your Google Classroom, your Canva, however you share files to your students. And then they would be able to view this while you're working. You can then use your pens. Now, this computer is not a touch screen, so bear with my handwriting. But like you could use that as your whiteboard right there, and it would just kind of alleviate that connection issue because you can share that file directly to the students.
I'm sorry, I'm one of those annoying people. Could you repeat what you said about making the background what again?
Okay, let me go back into, I was sharing the whole screen. I didn't want to do like a matrix and have you looking at your cells. So when you're in Jamboard, the new feature, if you come here where it says set background. All right, there. Okay, so you see how you have your graph paper, you have your dotted paper, your line paper.
Yeah.
This option right here that has the little image with the mountains, if you click on that, you could upload your own background from your computer. You could do a Google image search. So let's say I'm looking for a coordinated plane. I could find myself a coordinated plane. I could set that as the background. And now I have coordinated graph to work with the students. So instead of just the generic graph paper or solid color, I can now put any picture I want.
Oh, okay, I thought you said something about posting a link or something like that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, the posting of the link is so that you can share this out to your students. So when you come here to share, you would get the link here that says anyone on the internet can view it, or you can set that so like only people that are in your school can view it. So you would pick what you want, and then that's the link you would post to Google Classroom so that your students can see this in real time. And if your students are there in real time, when you write on your screen, it would show up on theirs. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's really the difference, is if you're using Jamboard or Google Docs or anything like that, it's going to be through the browser, not through like the smart whiteboard. So I know that we got a little confused when we were talking about the smart license. So before I move on with anything else, let's see if there's any questions that have come up, or let you play around a little bit with your boards. I'm just watching the screen, so come off of mute if you have questions.
I have another
question.
Okay, sorry. So given that when Smart, oh my God, Hello Smart works, I have a question. So like whenever you scroll down, the kids can't see it. Do you always have to hit a new page for our virtual kids to see it? Because that took a little bit of figuring out to do.
Yes, and I am going to guess that you're the one that asked the question on my form.
Yeah, that was me.
I saw that exact question on the form. So yes, you would have to put a new screen. It doesn't scroll for the kids.
Okay.
At least it doesn't scroll automatically. They might be able to scroll on their own, but it would be complicated for them.
Okay. I mean, I've just been adding a new page. I just didn't know, just like when I've been playing Shout It Out, I had no idea that that little arrow was clearing everything. I was just.
I did, that was because I answered that question because I had seen it in the questions.
They were both from me.
Okay. Yeah, so definitely that little refresh. I asked was taking a screenshot of the board. Unfortunately, for like if you're doing a shout out on the board directly, you can't take a screenshot of your kids' answers. If you were doing it on your computer, you can take a screenshot of the computer screen.
Okay,
You
that's
can't
fine. Yeah, I was just because I do it as a review game to see who gets the answer first, like for vocab, for example. And then when I would go to the next question, I would literally just drag each one into the top and left, right corners because I couldn't figure out how to clear it so that I'd be able to see who the next winner was.
Well, the other thing you can do in that type of situation, Amanda, is just hit a new page and put a new shout out because on their device, it'll kind of refresh and put a new text box.
Oh, okay.
But on yours, you would then be able to save the answers from every question.
Oh, okay. All right,
So
cool. Thank you.
that's the reason you want to be able to clear it. That right there is an easier way. Just create a brand new one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions coming up as you guys are playing so far?
I have a
Don't
question.
raise your hand, just off mute.
Okay. I have a question. I was wondering, can you pull up like your Google Meet with your students on these boards? No.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
So here's the kicker. You can pull up Zoom directly on the board. You can't pull up Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, or any of those. Google, like, don't get me wrong, Smart is working on it. But as of right now, Google or Zoom is the only program that Smart has, I don't want to say modified, but Smart was able to get a Zoom app. So it opens natively on the board.
You can have the students up there from your Google Meet. You just won't be, they just can't see you because we don't have a camera. But all of your students can be up there.
You could, well, if your computer, yeah, but not the board directly.
You go in through browser.
Yeah, if you go in through if it works, that's new. That was not working like even last week.
One of my once, and
Yeah, I had my students.
noise at my students at home. I was wondering if I was missing anything.
Interesting. Okay, I'm really impressed because as far as we were aware, Google Meet does not work on the board. So either you guys figured out how to manipulate the boards or they changed that and never told us.
Well, Joel, we did that, and then so I had them on the board during Italian, and I had to have it on my laptop as well so that he could see and hear us. And it was so echoey that I had to shut him off the board because I don't know, it just wasn't working.
Okay.
I go to my Google Classroom and then I just go into it, join it, just like this.
Essentially, it's just looking at, like, for the kids that are in class to see their face, because without us being logged onto our teacher computer, like, they can't hear us or see us off of this new board.
You would have both of them going in.
You have both of them, but that's what I'm saying. Without,
I'm really curious about this now, so I'm letting Beth show me this. So go click the join the class.
Well, this is just for my own classroom, so no one is there.
Right.
So it just goes in and you're on.
See, but you see how when you
see them
on that last screen it said camera fail?
But it'll still see them. You'll still be able to see them.
Right, but
my students in class can see them that are at home without having their own being
right,
in their
but
own.
as far as we were aware, as far as we were told, like when you got that camera fail, Google Meet itself wasn't letting you go past that. Like it wouldn't let you into a Meet if you had a camera fail. It was like the error messages.
I'm in the Meet.
Okay.
This is being in the Meet right now. So
All right,
I
so
would see them big.
So I'm going to have you test something else then. On the bottom right, do you see an option to share screen?
Yeah.
Let's see if that works. Share your whole screen.
I don't know. No, that won't work.
Okay. So I guess they fixed part of it and they're still working on the rest, but that's
you can at least see them. Or like the kids in class can see them you know.
You just taught me something new. Thank you. Something that we've been doing with a couple schools, they've actually purchased secondary monitors. So basically they bought TVs and they would have all of their at-home students on the TV so that the teacher could see the whole class, the kids at home and the kids physically in the room at the same time. So that's kind of like what you just pulled up on your board, but it wasn't working on the boards before. So you, like I said, you just taught me something new. I am so excited. I'm going to have to test that when I get back to the office. All right. So while you guys have been playing around, does anyone else come up with any questions at this point? Because I do want to show you some of Hello Smart just in case you do have the license, because it sounds like you do. And you already did, you said you already had a training on Jamboard, so I don't want to go too far into Jamboard. So any questions? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in to Hello Smart and we're going to see how to convert your older files. So how to convert your Google Drive files, how to convert a PowerPoint, all of that type of stuff. So I'm going to share my screen again. And just don't raise your hand, just come off mute because I'm not going to be looking at all your videos. I have to be looking at a different screen right now. So I'm in my Google Drive. And this is, Regina, this is what I had mentioned to you having it added. So when you come to the new, more, and then you see Smart Learning Suite, it's going to let you create a notebook file right there in your Google Drive. If you currently have the option that says create a trial account, just create the trial account for now. And this way you can play along. If you do have accounts, it'll just automatically switch the email address to a real account. If you don't, it'll just end after 45 days. So when you log in through Google Drive, it takes you to that same page I showed you before, that suite.smarttech. But this time you're going to see an option that says visit my drive. The reason why I like to recommend that everyone goes through new, more, and Smart Learning Suite will show in a second. So when I click add an activity, you're going to see on the top, it says add the content to the My Drive and the St. Monica School. By going through Google Drive, it organizes your files. If you go directly to suite.smarttech, it just puts everything chronological. And as you can see, after a while, that's going to get really complicated to find older files. So by going through Google Drive, it automatically organizes it to the folder that you were in when you created the new file. Now on this screen, when you click that add content, the first option says import a resource, and you're going to see notebook, PPT is your PowerPoints, PDF, and G Suite file. So if I click import and I click to import a file from my Google Drive, I'm going to go to my training folder. Too many folders. All right. I'm going to go to I guess I'm not going to go to generic resources. I've been moving stuff around. I'm going to go to my presentations, and I am going to just open this right here that says best practice Google. So I'm going to just open that file for my demo, and you'll see it says setting up the lesson and the file is being added to Google Drive. So depending on how many slides you have in your presentation, this can take a minute or two. But what's happening is it's basically taking a picture of each slide and it's turning it into a notebook file. So if you had hellosmart.com, your students could then access it. And I'm going to show you some other cool stuff that your students can do once this converts the file. All right. So it opens it up in the editing mode. And you're going to see right away, here's my presentation. It says this page is view only on student devices, convert to activity. We're not going to convert this yet because I want to show you some other stuff. But as you can see, that just brought my entire presentation into Smart Learning Suite. Now let's say I want to make something interactive. So let's say I had this chart and I want the kids to actually like drag answers. Well, here, this is all one text box. They can't do that. But what I can do is I click here on the blue arrow and I click create a new page. And I'm just going to type some sample stuff. It wants to let me. There we go. I'm just making a really silly table just to have a table. I'm going to find a picture of a table. Yes, I hear someone come off mute. I thought I heard someone come off mute. So you could see that I'm just inserting the picture. I have my table. And then because I want the kids to be able to drag answers, what I'm going to do is I click the letter A and I'll put an answer on the bottom. It's a little small of a font, so we'll make it bigger. Maybe instead of a word, I want to put a picture. A picture. So I'm just putting all of this stuff on the bottom, kind of just like the sample that you saw before. It's not rain, but we'll just take that picture. Maybe I'll put another word. So you could see that I have like some words and some pictures there on the bottom. And then what I would do is I click convert to activity and I make this, depends. Do I want everyone to do it together or do I want each kid to do it separately? If I want everyone to do it together, I would make it a collaborative workspace. If I want each kid to do their own sorting table, I would turn it into a handout.
Hi, Corey. Quick question. Sorry about this. I was trying to fix a couple of the boards. How did you get to where you are currently? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Just something in the water here.
All right. So I went into Google Drive.
Yep.
I went new.
Mm-hmm.
More. And then if you had done that link that I had sent to Regina, you should see a Smart Learning Suite option now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. If you don't see that, then that's something that you as the tech director or the administrator has to do for everyone.
Yeah, I don't have that. When I press new, I don't have that.
Hey guys,
You
guys just hands up if you don't have that new button.
Yeah, I only have Google Drawings, Google My Maps, Google Sites, Google Apps Script, and Google Jamboard.
I have it. I access it through the waffle.
Okay, I'll check the waffles over here and see if it's there. Thank you.
Huh. I didn't realize it was in the waffle. All right, so if that's not working, then what I'm going to do, we're not going to go through Google Drive right now. So what I'm going to tell you all to do is you are, instead of going through Google Drive, you're going to go to suite.smarttech.com. And I'll put that link in the chat because I know it's a little complicated. So suite.smarttech.com is going to bypass Google Drive. If you have to start that 45-day trial for now, just start the trial. If not,
Yeah, what's
It's in the waffle all the way down at the bottom. I just checked it over here. I'm going to check on a couple of the other computers. Just a heads up.
Right, so this started your 45 minutes. Welcome. Oops, sorry.
I love when people just randomly play music. It's so much fun.
Thank you. All right, get started.
Yep.
Get started.
So again, if it gave you the 45-day trial, we'll hopefully get you guys all situated within 45 days. So don't worry about that. All right. So how many of you are now in the Hello Smart? You're in Smart Learning Suite. Okay. So I see like Danielle has up the demos, like they kind of give you like a starter notebook to look at. That was what that was, where it said like welcome tour.
Hi, are we clicking the free trial?
Yeah, if you don't currently have an account, click the free trial, and we're going to
Okay.
hopefully get you guys situated before the 45 days expire.
Okay.
All right, so on the top where it has that green bar that says add activity. Now here is where if you already have, like I said, a Google Slides or a PowerPoint or anything else, if you click that top left option that says import, it'll let you bring in what you already have. Now, obviously, if you don't have stuff on your smartboard and you're playing on the board, you can't pull stuff in. If you're on your computer, you can pull stuff in, but then you'll be able to open it on the board later on. So that import is just really handy to take your old files instead of reinventing the wheel. Does that make sense? Okay. Now the other things that you're going to see. All right. So the other thing you're going to see is here where it says add activity. You're going to see an option that says YouTube, new page, shout out, responses, game-based activities. And then if you scroll down, you'll see some ready-made. That's where you can find graphic organizers and manipulatives. So the manipulatives are pretty cool. So if I go to the manipulatives, let's say that I am teaching fractions to fourth or fifth grade. I click the manipulatives for the fractions, and this is the same that's built into your whiteboard. So if you are on your IQ, if you're on your smartboard, this is built into that as well. But what's nice about it here in Hello Smart, or here in Smart Suite, is I could actually make it as an activity for the kids that the kids can do on their own. So if I come here to the text box and I write directions, so I just wrote, find 4 examples of 1/2. I put that in the directions. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that arrow and click lock. The reason you want to click lock is so that your kids can't accidentally drag the word directions. It stays up there at the top. I'm then going to click convert to an activity, and I'm going to make this an individual handout. So you'll see right away, it now says fraction titles and preview. So when I click finish editing and I start my lesson, if my students are on Hello Smart, so I see I still have one person, Dawn is still logged in if she wanted to try this. Dawn could open this up on her device and she could do the work. So every student who has a Chromebook in front of them or an iPad or a phone or anything would be able to do this work. And I'm going to actually log my other computer in as a student so I can demonstrate the student. So you do, this way you can see the teacher in the student view.
Right, Corey, I'm a little confused. Now, where am I? Because now it's saying waiting for students to connect.
Okay, if it says waiting for students to connect, and you are currently, okay, so if it says waiting for the students to connect, that means that you have no kids in your class right now.
Right.
If you go back up to the top left and click on those the two people.
Okay. I don't have two people. Oh, there it goes.
That brings you back to your whiteboard.
Okay.
All right, so as I was explaining, so like I have here student progress, and I could see that Dawn did the work and it has a green check mark because she marked herself as done. And I can now open up Dawn's work and I could see exactly what Dawn did on her computer. Now, obviously, as the teacher, if I looked at this, I would be like, well, you didn't read the directions.
You gotta be
So I go over to my pen and I would say, for example, the 1/2. And maybe I want to demonstrate 1/2 and say, see, 3/6 are equal to 1/2. So I, as the teacher, could demonstrate that for Dawn. And I circled the half so she saw what she did wrong when she started.
PA.org.
If I go to mine,
It's
I go on my other computer,
it's in a space.
and I see in real time what the student is doing.
Sorry. Mute yourself on this.
So that's one of the benefits of Hello Smart, is that you are able to get your students to do the work and you can see what they're doing.
I have a quick question, Corey. Is there, now they always have to be signed in through the link that you showed us. We can't post anything like this to their Google Classroom, right? It all has to be done through Smart?
We'll see how advanced we get in today's lesson. There is a way, but I don't want to overwhelm people.
Okay.
Unless you want me to overwhelm you and tell you now.
I don't want to speak for everybody else.
Okay. It is possible for asynchronous. If I show you where to find the link for your Google Classroom, though, it would not be the students would not be on the same page as the teacher. The students would be able to go through it freely on their own. So that's the first thing. But yes, you can do asynchronous, where you give the kids a link to the file and they can go through it on their own and do the work. So showing of hands or nodding of heads on the cameras, how many of you want to see how to do that to give the kids asynchronous on Google Classroom? Okay. I see Danielle's currently playing the game show. Oh, she's previewing the game show. All right. See, I didn't even get into the fun stuff yet. All right. So we're going to go back to screen sharing. And what I'm going to show you now is, so you see how we're going to go back to the Hello Smart page.
Corey,
So
is there like a book with all this? Are you going to send us all these tips to log on to these things so we have them at our fingertips?
So they're on the Wakelet. They're on that bookmark page that I sent you at the beginning.
Okay. All right. So that's where everything is.
Yeah, and I'm recording this, so you're going to have a video of the session.
Okay.
But if you have any specific questions as you move forward, like as you start playing and exploring, you can feel free to email me or fill out that form that I had sent at the beginning.
Okay.
Either way, the form was just kind of to keep everything in one place, but if you email me, I'll respond to emails too.
Okay.
Definitely. All right, so when I'm here, you see how I see the little thumbnail of each of my presentations. If I click on the 3 dots, I get an option that says share link. The first link is the teacher copy. This will make the teacher an exact copy of your presentation so they can use it themselves. You won't see anything that teacher does on their copy. It's not like a Google collaboration where you're both working on the same file. It would legitimately make a copy. If you are working with your students and you want them to access the file to finish it at home later, this second link right here, let students access the lesson and work at their own pace. You would copy that link and you would put that link in your Google Classroom. Now, by putting that one in your Google Classroom, it's going to open it up And because right now I'm not logged in as a student, it's gonna take me to the lesson. But it's taking me to the teacher page. If I log in as a student, so I'm gonna go to an incognito window so you can see the difference. So if I come to that incognito window, and it says, this is what it gives the student. It says, welcome, use your school account to sign in. Sign in to open. And it's gonna make the kids sign in. So that is how you can share it through Google Classroom. Now, if the kids already just clicked the link in Google Classroom, they're already signed into Google, they would not get this pop-up. They'd already be signed in. It would just take them right to the file. So that's the benefit of Hello Smart, is that you can do the work asynchronously. You can send the links to your students.
I'm
So
sorry,
again,
Chris, I have a quick question. So when you said the smart account, so they're already logged to Google, they already have a smart account?
so when we were talking about the licenses before, only teachers need a license. Any student can access the files.
Oh, okay.
So when your students log in with Google, then they're all set. The teacher account, however, if you don't have, like if you as the teacher don't have an active license, it won't let you do anything.
Okay.
For those of you that are currently on that 45-day trial, on day 46, if it hasn't been straightened out, it just won't let you open the files. All right. Yep. All right. So again, coming back in here, I have it now set as those individual activities. If I want to add another page to this file before I send it to the kids, I would click the blue plus sign and I can go to a game-based activity. And let's say I want the kids to do match them up. I'm just making simple demos. So this is how fast it is to make a game. I just typed in number, words. I went 1 to 5 and I went 1 to 5. I click next. I pick which visualization I want. I kind of like the dragon and the knight. I click finish. Now, if I click preview, this is what the kids would see on their devices. They would see a flame and a shield. And if they drag it over the matching one, you'll see the knight put up its sword. If I drag it to the wrong one, crispy critter. So that's just a review for the kids. Now here's the catch. These games, you as the teacher can't see what the students are doing. So if you were to make this game and tell your kids to do it for homework, you wouldn't know if they did it or not. If you have it up on your actual board and you call a kid up to the front of the room to do it, you obviously see them do it. So that is the one thing about these games, is they are really more for in-person if you as the teacher want to be able to see the students participating. If you just want the kids to practice, like if you make a game of multiplication facts and you just want them to kind of, the more they see it, the more they memorize it, you can make a bunch of these games and give it to the kids to do at home. I know a lot of teachers that do that.
Now, again, Corey, excuse me. While playing this game, like for my kids that are virtual at home, as long as they're in the Hello Smart, this again is included in what they can do, right?
Yes, so they can do it in Hello Smart. You as the teacher can't see it. That's the one downfall to these games. These games are all more for like the in-person or the personal practice. Does that make sense?
What? I'm sorry. What is the difference? Like if it says save to SLS, if I download it, where is that sending it?
Okay, so if it says save to SLS, it's going to your Google Drive.
Okay, so that's the best way to place to put it?
Yeah. So if you go into your Google Drive.
Okay.
Let me go to the correct folder. When you have Smart Learning Suite and you click that save to SLS, The first time you do it, it's going to create a folder called Smart Learning Suite. After that, everything automatically just saves into this folder.
Okay.
Now, once you have it in that folder, like let's say this demo lesson, let's say that this was specifically for like your class. I can right click on it, I can move it, and I can go to my training folder for St. Monica and I could put it in there. So like I have this folder here where I'm putting everything for today's training. So I can move that file to that folder. So it's going to default save it to the Smart Learning Suite folder, but you can move it to other folders after. And you'll see now I have that file is in this folder right here, demo lesson. So that, excuse me, that is how it would convert those files for you. That's where it would save automatically, and that's how you can move it and organize it.
Now would download put it right to the smart board where if I go into files, it's there?
I'm going to be very honest with you. I haven't played with that on the, like directly on the board.
Okay.
So we'd have to test that on the computer. When you click the download option, it saves it to your download folder, and then you would be able to open it using the notebook hardware or the notebook software. So the Smart Learning Suite license comes with two things. It comes with the cloud, but it also comes with the program. How many of you use Microsoft Office 365 for personal use or in the classroom? All right, so you know how you can have you can use you have the actual Word and Excel programs on your computer, but you can go to office.com and access them in the cloud. And Joan's face is like, I never knew I could get my stuff in the cloud. All right, so Office now has the cloud, but they still have their software. The cloud has less features, but it has more flexibility. So when you have your stuff in the cloud, you can email it to people, you could share it to people, you could work on it in real time with people. If you have it in the computer program, you might have more fonts and more colors and more this and that, but you're limited to only your computer. Same thing with Smart Notebook. Smart Notebook is the software download that it wouldn't work on a Chromebook anyway, so this would only be for your PCs and your Macs. But that software gives you more pens. It gives you shapes, it gives you backgrounds, it gives you more features, but not stuff that you can share to the students. So Notebook is really just a fancier whiteboard in a sense. Whereas Smart Learning Suite has all of this collaboration. So where I just showed you how you can turn the page into an activity and the kids could try it at home. So if they're working remote, they could open it up on their Chromebooks and do it. That's only going to be in the cloud. I see Bridget's like, looks like she's taking notes. She's like excited about all this. I love that you all have your cameras on, by the way. It is so refreshing to see faces and not just black boxes with names. All right, so I see Danielle is playing with her board. They're trying to figure something out over there. So any other questions at this point, or do you want to go into more of Smart Learning Suite and see what else you can do for your students collaboratively?
I'm just a little stuck with how to get to the games that you got to.
Okay.
You showed us.
All right, so
Thing.
Are you on the whiteboard or are you on the browser? You were on the whiteboard.
Yes.
Okay, so you can't do the games directly on the whiteboard.
Okay.
The games are going to be in Hello Smart. So
I am in Hello Smart.
This is part of the whiteboard, so like.
We just found that you can download it either place and you can access it from the smart board, no matter if you save it to SLS or downloads.
Right, okay. Beautiful. So if you hit download, it saves it to your board. For those of you that were checking that out. All right,
And
so
as soon as you go to home, files, it'll ask you SLS files, board files, or downloads. And you can
Beautiful.
get to
Thank
it.
you, Danielle.
You're welcome.
See, even I learn new stuff when I do training, so thank you. All right, so when you want to create the games, you have to do them in the browser. Now, because you're going to probably be typing, it is easier to do it on the computer and then just share it out to the board. But so I'm looking at Danielle's right now. So I'm going to use Danielle as my example because she's been so great and she walks away from her board right as I say that. All right. Oh, she's back. Okay. So Danielle, what I want you to do is click the green add. And we are going to just look at those options again. So when you're looking at those options, if you want to do something that you can grade, if you want your students to do the work and you could see what they're doing, I want you to click new page. Okay. So this is what I meant when I said it might be easier to do this on the computer and then just, share the files through the cloud, because it's going to require a little bit of typing when it opens. A watched pot never boils. It shouldn't take this long, I swear. Just give Danielle's screen a moment. She's loading it up. So when you do this, if you wanted to do some kind of like drag and drop or matching or anything like that, what you would do is every item that you want to be draggable has to be its own item. So you can't just type all the words in one text box. You'd have to make an individual text box for each word. So that's something I wanted to point out, and I'm going to share my screen again.
I'm having a hard time with the internet over here.
Yeah, it's not you. It's everyone. All right, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to just hit the new page. And let's say I want to match up the math problems to the answer. So I put my directions. I'm going to drag my directions up to the top. And because the directions don't get moved, I'm going to lock them. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to type like 3 times 5 equals. And I click a new text box and I do 4 times 2 equals. And I want to make that font a little bigger. There we go. So you see how now, because they're separate text boxes, I can drag them separately. Then I would come over to my answers and I would put the 2 answers as separate text boxes. And now I could drag the answers to the problems, or I could drag the problems to the answers, either way. But then the kids could drag and match. As the teacher, if I wanted this to be something that they're actually going to like do, I click that convert to activity and I make it into a handout. By making it into a handout, it allows the students to do it on Hello Smart and actually try it themselves. So that's the way to make those interactive features, is to use that blank page and text boxes. Now, if you're creative, you could add a background. So if I come here to the image and I want to find a basketball court, oops, as I spell court wrong. I can come here and find a picture of a basketball court. And I could stretch it to the whole slide. And I could lock it down. Now, here's the one thing to point out to you. Notice that the basketball court automatically went to the front. That is because Smart Learning Suite doesn't allow you to change positions. So whatever you put in on the file, it's always going to put the newest thing on top. So if you want a picture as a background, put the background before the text boxes. Does that make sense, that you have to put it from the bottom up? Okay. I'm looking at Danielle and I see she has a really cool background right there with a lot of the magnetic letters. That's pretty cool. So again, this is just some of the things that you can do. Now, if we go back into Hello Smart and I click the plus sign to add another slide, if I come here to my graphic organizers, I can take like my Venn diagram, for example. And now, the same way I did before, I did that indoor, outdoor. This is a lot nicer looking because now I have it as a Venn diagram, but then I can come here to the pictures and I can put grass. And I could take a picture of grass. I could resize it, drag it down there to the bottom. I can go put another picture. I can put kitchen. Again, you could resize the pictures. So I'm just like piling all these pictures up.
I'm sorry, how did you get the Venn diagram on there? Did you create it? I was turned around.
Okay, so
Is
if
there
you
a way
wanted
to put
to,
manipulatives in here?
if you click the plus sign and you scroll down, you'll see graphic organizers. And then if you scroll down the Venn diagram, for some reason, it's the most popular graphic organizer, but because alphabetically the V's come last, but it's right there at the bottom of the graphic organizers. And it would just put a blank Venn diagram there.
And the kids could also do what you're doing. Instead of them dragging and dropping, they could go in and do the search and say, you know, I'm going to put grass inside and or outside and a table out inside.
So I'm going to go back into student mode for a second. So I'm going into my other computer and we're going to open this up for the students. So you'll see that when I open it on my student device, after it loads, my name shows up as a student that started, and I can click on that student. Now on the student side, they're going to see the same toolbar. They have the arrow, the finger, or sorry, the finger, the pen, the eraser, a text box, and an image box. So I can come here as a student, and I'm just going to again do grass because I'm kind of a little not creative. But I, as a student, was able to just put the grass there. The teacher can come back here and click teacher handout if they wanted to put the blank one up on the screen. But they can hit those arrows and they could see all of their students' progress. So yeah, the students can do an image search themselves. Something to note about the image search is it is what's called Bing Safe Search. For those of you that don't know what Bing is Microsoft's answer to Google. So when you do a Bing search, it is basically an image search using Microsoft search engine. Now, the reason Smart went with Bing is because Microsoft does have better safety algorithms. Can you still end up with inappropriate pictures? Unfortunately, yes, but their algorithms are better at blocking inappropriate stuff from your students than Google is. So the Bing image search lets them search the internet for pictures and pull them in. I see Danielle just found the letter block pre-made manipulative. Very, very cool. So again, it's a lot of playing around because there are a lot of features. So that's the reason why I really did want you guys to be in front of your boards today so you could see everything and try it and play with it and see what's going on. Now, if you are working with students remotely, and as you can see, like right now, I'm looking at Danielle's board, but I'm looking at it through the camera. And Danielle's like, oh, she's talking about me again.
No, it's okay. We're trying to, Mike was just in here, we're trying to save it so that we can write on it. So like, you can't write on the lesson?
Right.
So you had a Venn diagram up and you wanted them to write that you wanted to write things. So it's quicker than.
So I'm going to tell you exactly why. Right now you are in the teacher edit mode. So on the top right, you see where it says like finish editing, or on the top left, sorry, click finish editing.
I think it's frozen. It's saying saving still.
Oh, that's your internet. That should have saved by now. Click the refresh, the little circle refresh.
Nothing.
Huh.
I've been having a problem over here. Yeah. I kept dropping people all day yesterday, Friday.
Yeah, that's not good. Is it just your internet slow or?
Yeah.
Go to your home screen. Click the home button on the bottom of the board.
Yeah, it's stuck.
Okay.
I've actually had to restart it twice because it wouldn't turn back on when I got in the next day.
I'm guessing that board is brand new, right?
Oh yeah.
How long has it been installed?
Week, 2 weeks.
All right. What I want Mike to do is email Visual Sound because we need to come out and check that.
Mike's gonna yell at me.
What's up? What do I have to do? What's happening?
Email Karen at Visual Sound and let her know that that board is having issues. Because she can send one of the service techs out to hopefully figure it out.
Got it. If you would do me a favor and send sister the name and email of the person I have to contact. And
I have Karen's contact.
Oh, well, let me ask. I could send her an email and I could CC you on it.
Would be perfect.
What room is that board in?
216.
216.
Corey? My board, I have an issue at least like once a day where it just doesn't load or work or I can't access Smart. Like right now I tried to go into Smart and it's been loading for the past 5 minutes and I went home and I came back. Like I don't know if it's the internet connection in my room or.
I'm going to be very honest with you. You guys have, these boards have a 99% success rate. I mean, they installed these in one of the largest school districts in the area and they only had one board not work out of like 700 boards. So the fact that you're having so many issues, I'm wondering if it's the network, like if it's your connections and stuff. So we definitely need to figure this out for all of you, but
other than like going home, is there a way to physically restart the computer besides unplugging it and plugging it back in?
Underneath, there's a button.
There's a toggle.
Yeah, there's like a little toggle. If you peek underneath your board.
Bottom right.
Bottom
right? Okay.
It should be like right next to where the plug itself is on the board.
But I do have a connection problem, sister. I was dropping my virtual all day Friday. It wouldn't let me sign on to Wi-Fi. So it could be the room or with the.
Yeah, and then the other thing that your tech people might want to consider is you can hardwire these boards to your internet, and that'll give it a little stronger of a connection if you have if you have the Ethernet ports close by.
We do. That's on my list.
Okay, that might help alleviate some of these slow problems as well.
And sister, that would be once we disconnect the desktop computers that all the classrooms have, we can use the Ethernet port that we have in every classroom to plug it in directly to the smart board. That way we don't have to build another infrastructure to make it work.
Okay.
So that'll be as soon as we take out all like the towers and monitors and extra stuff. Once that's gone, we can plug in exactly what we need.
Very good.
For teachers that have already done that, I can come around and show you how to direct hardline into your boards for those of you who are not using your desktop computers at this point. But for those of you that are, you're not going to be able to take care of that for now. We can take care of it once we get the laptops in.
Okay.
If Mike, I would get rid of my computer if that meant like I could connect it better because I'm on the struggle bus. I can't even find the button to restart it. So
listen, as soon as I'm done over here, I'm going to come back over there and start running around that building. So give me a couple minutes and I will be down your way.
Take your time.
Yeah.
It's a little bit up, Bridge, Amanda, like 6 inches up on the right-hand side. Feel up there and you'll feel that little switch. You have to go up a little bit.
Seriously, I'm like 5 foot. Like, I don't even, like, where? Up on the right. I'll find it. Thank you. Go ahead. Don't worry
You'll
about
find
me.
it.
Yeah,
You got
that's
it.
fine.
So if so I had a problem, and I know one of the third grade teachers had the same problem where the boards froze and the buttons, like the home button, the input button, if all of those don't work to bring us
That's
anywhere,
what
we're gonna have
just
to use
happened
the
to
toggle.
Danielle.
So we're gonna have to use the toggle then to fix it.
Well, that's the reason why I want to, I'm going to reach out to Karen and see if we can have a service tech come. Like I said, we had over 700 boards installed in another school district, and only one of the 700 boards was malfunctioning. So
You're just overachievers over here, I guess.
yeah, so I can't see it being the board, but that's why I was saying it could be the infrastructure. Like maybe the board is trying to connect to the internet too hard, and it's not that I've ever seen that happen. I'm making excuses right now. I'm not gonna lie, Bridget. I'm trying to figure out what this could possibly be.
Okay, as long as like okay that we're using the toggle or unplugging. I don't want to do anything to like jack up the board.
Doing the toggle switch is like pulling the battery from your phone. Oh, sorry. The older phones, before they started building the batteries in where you can't open the back. If
Yeah,
you had
mine
like,
wasn't
if you had,
turning
like,
on
the
at
old
all.
Android, did you ever like just pull the battery to restart the phone? It's like that. It's not going to damage it. It's just going to refresh it. Are there any other problems besides freezing that's going on? I want to try to help at least one problem. Amanda.
Yeah. So this is very random. Like during lunch, we'll watch Disney Plus, or not even just Disney Plus. It'll load, but then something else will play, even if there's not like a tab open.
Same
And I don't
problem
know if
here.
it's me or the board.
I had the same problem.
Are you playing them from the? Are you trying to play it from the board directly?
Yeah. So like I would go. I have Disney Plus saved.
Not gonna work.
I'm just using that as an example because that's what takes the load the longest for it to load for here. But it'll load and then it'll pop up with the movie title on top, and then it's like a gray screen, and then something else will play, or it'll have like a different tab. Like it's just weird.
I hear the movie playing, but I see faded background of what I was just doing as my lesson, and I can't. I can't. Is that what's happening?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that is coded into Disney Plus and Netflix and Amazon Prime and all of those video sites. It is to block copyright preventions. The only video you can show directly on the board is YouTube. All right. I just noticed somebody wrote in the chat, they were asking about wiping down the board and sanitizing it. So here's the biggest thing. Whatever you do not spray the board. In the corners of the board, there are little sensors that help read the pen. And if it gets wet, it'll void the warranty, it'll mess everything up. So if you're going to wipe down the board, you spray the cloth and then you wipe the board with the wet cloth. Not soaking wet, just like moist. The other thing you can do, and I believe it's possible that you guys bought these boards before we started offering them. We do sell these wipes that are called iCloth.
Can you tell me spray with what?
On that link that I gave you guys, I did show you, I did send you the Smarts Direct Cleaning. They actually have like a recipe of how much bleach to water ratio to kill the germs and stuff. So it is on that link that I gave you at the beginning. Let me get you that link again. It was bit.ly/visual sound 47, I believe. Let me double check that. Nope, it wasn't 47. I number all my bit.lys to keep them organized, but then I forget what number I was up to. 48, okay.
Would this work?
I'm not really sure what that is. I've never heard of that brand next.
It's for smudging. It's just a little cloth.
That won't disinfect.
Okay.
So on that link that I sent you, that Visual Sound 48, there is a link directly to Smart that has like their recipe of, again, it's like a ratio of Clorox to water, but do not spray the board directly. Always spray a cloth and use the cloth. If you guys wanted these, Visual Sound does sell them. I know that they were starting to send them out like a one box with each board as a thank you for purchasing, but it might have been after you had purchased these. So I don't know if you got them or not, but they look like this. This is a small one. This is more like a phone size, but they sell them the big ones. They're like the size of a sheet of paper. They're 8.5 by 11. And they have isopropyl alcohol in them that disinfects. So you would just wipe down your board with it and it would kill all the germs and bacteria.
So
yes, Elisa.
So if you're using like hand gel on your hands and you're touching the board, you want to make sure your fingers are really dry, or a little tiny bit of that alcohol gel is not going to ruin the board if it's still on your fingers.
It definitely will not ruin the board. It's if it drips into the corners, like on the bottom. Okay. So that's why I said, you can wet a cloth and then use the cloth to wipe the screen, but don't spray the screen. Because you know how when you spray it, it always starts to drip right away. You don't want anything dripping down. I did give you a direct link to the interactive how to clean your boards. Your pens and stuff, those you can just wipe with like a Clorox wipe, whatever. But yeah, so that's how to disinfect and clean. And it does warn you right there not to spray directly on the board. It could damage the board. Smart recommends distilled water instead of tap water. I understand the reasoning behind that. I don't know if that's like really, really necessary. Because you know the difference between distilled water and regular water. It's just the minerals and stuff. So I'm guessing the distilled water mixed with the bleach just assures that there's no particles that could scratch the screen. So that's why they recommend using the distilled water. But again, it's really, it's up to you guys how you want to clean them. Clorox wipes, I wouldn't really recommend because they're very strong and they are made more for like scrubbing. You want something that's not going to scratch the surface. So you don't want something that's designed to get like, elbow grease, get the grime out, which is why I would not recommend a Clorox wipe. Plus they're almost impossible to find right now in stores.
What about a baby wipe?
I'm not sure about a baby wipe because the baby wipes have like the lotions and stuff in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that would necessarily be a good option.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I have these things, but they are definitely.
I went online and I Googled it and I looked at like what was acceptable. And
Okay.
this is what I found. They're Windex electronic wipes.
Those are really good too. They're just also kind of hard to find in stores right now.
They said like you just can't like if you like they're ones that they won't scratch and stuff like that. And then the other ones they recommended were an eyeglass wipe, but I looked and those were really expensive at Sam's Club because they come in like the little packets because they're just for your glasses.
Yeah,
but
and you would need a lot of them.
Amazon. So Amazon
Yeah.
has these in stock.
So like I personally, like when I go into a school to do a training in person, I wipe down the pens and stuff before I start. I just use alcohol wipes, like the same thing that your doctor uses before you get your flu shot. I got these at Dollar Tree. It was a pack of 100. And these are in stock right now. I've seen them at Dollar Tree, but like they're tiny. If you were to try to use this thing to clean your board, you would need like 100 of them just to clean the board, but to clean the pens and stuff.
These are like a whole tub of them. I got them at Staples for $4.
So I'm looking, and the fact that they're the alcohol, that means they're good. Check what else is in them though. If they have like lotion or something, it could damage the board. If it's just alcohol, you're good.
All right, because these other ones are just wiping your board down, but they're not disinfecting. So
Right.
I want to make sure that they're, a disinfecting kind of a thing.
Well, the other thing you can do, and don't quote me on this because this is just my personal theory, is if you take that Windex one that will get all the fingerprints and stuff off, if you buy like a container of rubbing alcohol and you dilute it so that it's, I think 70% alcohol. So if you buy like a fancier one, use that same cloth because you know the cloth itself is already clean. Put a little bit of alcohol on it and then wipe the board down again with the alcohol. That's an option. The wipes that you showed me could be good. I can't guarantee that because I don't know what other ingredients are in it besides the alcohol. And that's the reason I said no to the baby wipes, is because they tend to have lotions and stuff in them.
Mm-hmm.
And those lotions would actually form like a residue on the boards.
Right.
Does Margaret have a question, or is she just waving her hand?
She was talking to me. She's good.
Oh, okay.
We're together. She's talking to me.
Okay. She's very animated. That's why I thought she was trying to get my attention.
I've been having some trouble using the site Kahoot, and I wasn't sure if it was a connection issue for us or if it was similar to the Netflix Disney Plus issue.
Kahoot should work, so that would be a network issue. But since we were talking Hello Smart, and I didn't really show you everything on Hello Smart, I'm going to show you though there is a really cool option for you on Hello Smart that I like better than Kahoot. So we're going to go back into the editing of a presentation.
Is Hello Smart the same as when we did Smart Exchange? So I can still go on Smart Exchange and it would go on to that, correct?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, if I go to Smart Exchange, I'll start there. So Smart Exchange is exchange.smarttech.com.
Yeah.
And like, let's say here, I like this coding maze. It says download or save to SLS. If I click save to SLS, it just goes into my Google Drive. But yes, Smart Exchange still functions. In fact, Smart revamped Smart Exchange because, as you may or may not be aware, Flash went bye-bye when the clock turned 2021. So any website that had Flash no longer functions. So Smart obviously knew ahead of time that this was coming because they didn't hide the fact that they were turning the program off. They warned everyone because Adobe makes Flash or made Flash. And Smart started clearing out anything with Flash from the Exchange. So anything that's in the Exchange will work. When you click that add to SLS, it shows you it went to my drive, Smart Learning Suite, and then there's the file. I could start the lesson right away. I could edit the lesson, or I can see it in my drive. But yeah, Smart Exchange still functions very nicely. All right, so if I am in my editing of a presentation, whether I start a new one or I just go in one I already have, if I click that blue plus sign and I go to game-based activities, there are two different activities that you can choose from: Monster Quiz or Team Quiz. The difference between these two quizzes, I meant to show you the preview, not to go into it right away. The difference between the two previews: Monster Quiz is going to give you this theme of monsters, and every time the kid gets a right answer, the monster is going to break out. The Team Quiz is just going to be these colored circles, and as the kids get right answers, the circle fills up. The reason they did that is because a lot of like middle school, like high school kids were considering the graphics of the monsters to be babyish, and they would complain. So Smart made the solid color option versus the cartoon option. Now, when you make the actual game, it asks you multiple choice or true false questions. You would put your questions. I'm just going to put one question. If you wanted to put another question, you would click add question, and that's where the next question would be. Click next when you're done. Set your randomize the questions, put a time limit, click finish. Now, your students would log into your Hello Smart, and that's how they would access the game. The reason I like the Hello Smart team quiz better than Kahoot is because with Kahoot, you get a lot of bobbleheads in your classroom, right? They have to look up at the question and look down at their device, then up at the question and down at their device. When you do it with the teams, with Hello Smart, the question's going to show on their devices. They're racing to answer all the questions correctly the fastest. And the other nice thing about it is if they get the answer wrong, the question will repeat itself at the end. So I don't actually know how they judge like the final score, like, oh, it took them 2 tries to answer it, but they did it in 10 seconds versus 1 try, but it took 20 seconds. I don't know how the actual final scores happen in that sense, but it repeats the questions until the kid gets all of them right. And then so on the board, you would see their competition, you would see all their teams competing and see who's finishing faster, who came in first. But on their individual devices, they would see the questions with the answer choices. So that's why I like the built into Smart Learning Suite games better than Kahoot, just because you don't end up with those bobbleheads in your classroom. And also, if you're working remotely, you can play that with your kids from home because you don't have them see the screen in the front of your room and see the question. Like they could see it all on their devices.
And then once I create something, am I able to share it with another teacher so that they can use it, or do they have to create it on theirs?
Yeah. So remember where I showed you to get the link for the kids for Google Classroom?
Yeah.
If you click the 3 dots on the underneath and you click that share link, the top link says share a copy to teachers.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and that would basically on the opposite teacher side. So like if you shared a link to, let's say, Amanda, and Amanda clicked it, it would be as if she clicked it in a Smart Exchange. It would give her the option to save it, and then it would be a brand new copy that's hers. She wouldn't be touching your copy. So we went through a lot of stuff. We tried to troubleshoot a bunch of stuff. So if you guys have any more questions, please let me know. I'm not jumping off the call right away. I know we were scheduled to end at 11, so we have about 4 minutes. But any questions you have, any concerns, if more stuff comes up after you hang up, I'm going to put my email directly in the chat for you. So feel free to email me. And if I don't know the answer, I will find it for you. I promise. I do not just ignore questions I don't know. In fact, I love learning. So sometimes you guys ask me a question that I don't know and I end up learning from it. So please ask your questions if you have any.
Any further questions? I just want to end by thanking Corey. We really appreciate your time and everything that you taught us. And also, I think most grateful that we can stay in touch and continue to learn. As you said, we all love to learn. We'll continue to learn even after this date. So thank you so much. Everybody has a great rest of their day. Thank you, Corey.
Yep.
And thank you all the teachers. God
You are
bless.
very welcome. And again, don't hesitate to reach out. It was a pleasure, everyone. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. And I will try to get the recording emailed to you.